And we're presently studying in Proverbs chapter 10, verse 1. Started with that yesterday. Talks about a wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish son, the grief of his mother. And we started talking about parenting yesterday. Life, the continuum of life, states that we all start from in a dependent state. We come into this life dependent, all right? We can't do anything ourselves. We're dependent. Then we'll go from dependent into what we call a independent state, right? We grow from dependent into independence as we are able to do some things ourselves, till we get into a phase of life that is called the independent state, because we can do things ourselves, right? We can do things alone. We can be isolated and still survive, but there's another state, the final state, which is called the interdependent state, right? Is a state whereby we release some of our independency, so that we can join with someone else. We join with someone else and release some of our independency, and as it were, depend on someone else as that person depends on us. Is that place where we allow someone else to bless us with their strength, as we bless that person with our strength also. And it's that place where the scriptures will say that one will put to flight 1,000, two will put to flight 10,000. It's called synergy. It's called the mastermind. It's a place where the result of two people coming together produces a chemical reaction, not a mechanical reaction, because one put into flight 1,000 is, and two put into flight 10,000 doesn't equate to 1,000 plus 1,000. It's a higher number, a higher result than just adding the sum of the two together. You produce something that is miraculous, something that is explosive. When two people come into an interdependent relationship. The other word for it, we call it synergy. We also call it a producing of a mastermind, right? When two minds join together effectively, you produce a mastermind effect, right? And that kind of parallels with parenting, right? When we come into this life, in a dependent state, we need to parent, right? We need to parent, but as a place as that child comes to independence, parenting stops, right? It's coaching, right? The job of a parent in a child's or the person's independent state is coaching, not parenting, because that person has released the dependencies, now in a place where that person can do everything, but just that person lacks the wisdom to do it. That person can do it, but lacks the wisdom to do it. So what they need at that point is not parenting, but is coaching, right? And after coaching, the person comes to an interdependent state where the person learns to give away some of that dependency to be able to get what we call a win-win or a no deal, agreement, right? Where in an independent state, which typically most people are going into a lose-win or win-lose, relationship or result, because it's either my way or your way, right? But in a matured relationship place, what we call interdependency, everyone is seeking for win-win, right? Yeah, it's not trying to deprive another person. It's recognizing that there's enough to go around, right? As I take my own, I don't take it at the expense of someone else. And what we do in the life of our children at that point is mentoring, right? You are mentoring those children. When your child is growing in a way that is not, is not, is a failure. Is a place where you are still parenting in these last two stages, right? You don't allow that child to grow. We don't allow that child to grow. So you are still parenting instead of coaching or mentoring.